Returning to our top story, Andrew Laming will quit politics at the next federal election over his conduct towards women. Joining me live to discuss the issue is our political panel, Ebony Bennett from the Australia Institute and James Bolt from the Institute of Public Affairs. Great to see you both. Let's start with you, Ebony. There was no other choice, was there? I mean, his female colleagues came out and urged him to reconsider his future. What are your thoughts on what's taken place today?
Well, I think the next election, to be frank, is not soon enough for him to leave Parliament. We've heard a lot from the Prime Minister about the importance of the rule of law, particularly when it comes to the allegations against Christian Porter. And the fact is that upskirting is illegal in Queensland. It's a crime, one that Andrew Laming appears to have admitted to when confronted by this allegation. And so I think it's important that the Prime Minister acts. He can't sack Andrew Laming from Parliament, but he should use his considerable resources to sack him from the party for this completely unacceptable behaviour, because I think the fact is we've seen Andrew Laming does not really think that he's done anything wrong, and he certainly didn't appear to be genuinely apologetic earlier in the week. So the sooner he goes, the better.
James, what are your thoughts? Anthony Albanese said that the PM should sack Mr Laming now as well. Do you think he'll be able to hold out?
Look, I think we're all rightly disgusted by Laming's actions, and then to say that your apology was accidentally Facebooked out from your pocket is laughable, really. The thing is, though, Andrew Laming was elected by the people of Bowman and not by Scott Morrison. So whether or not Scott Morrison can sack him from the Parliament, I don't think he can. I think that's up to the people of Bowman what they want to do with that.
Ebony, Scott Morrison tried to reset the parliamentary culture debate this week. I thought his speech was rather good, but then it went off the rails in question time after that. Critics say he failed at doing that. What did you take from his speech earlier?
Well, I think it started out okay and then, as you said, went off the rails when he tried to weaponise a different allegation against the media, who were merely asking him questions, as is their job. And I think the reason why things have gone so off the rails for the Prime Minister is this was a real transformational moment. And if he had have stepped up with some honest-to-goodness leadership, I don't think we'd be in the position that he is now. And the fact is that words are really wind in this. Women are looking for actual action, and we haven't seen much in terms of the Prime Minister actually acting, whether it's on gender quotas, which Australia Institute polling today shows that 60% of coalition voters back, as well as half of the general population, for the Liberal Party. And I think we saw today some more women from the Liberal Party in Parliament backing the idea of quotas as well. So I think it's time for the Prime Minister to act, because his words aren't doing much.
James, what does the PM's reshuffle need to look like as a result of this? And in particular, I mean, Christian Porter is going to be involved in this reshuffle as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Attorney General position. I think in regards to quotas, I don't think that's the solution. And I think, especially after the last few weeks of politics, we want the best people to be in we want the best people in cabinet there to be. And that doesn't come down to quotas, that comes down to people's legislative agenda and what they want to see done. Research by the Institute of Public Affairs shows that in regards to the Attorney General, the Coalition have been way worse than Labor on passing legislation which fundamentally breaches Australians' legal rights, such as the right to silence and the right to protection from self-incrimination. And whoever does end up in the position of Attorney General, I want to see them take that on and restore Australians' fundamental legal rights, because that's just not good enough.
Moving on to JobKeeper, Ebony, it's ending today. The government says it won't abandon struggling Australians. There's still a lot of people that have been relying on it, though. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I think the government is abandoning a lot of struggling Australians. It was estimated that this end to JobKeeper is going to cost 150,000 people their jobs.
Apologies, we just lost a bit of audio there. I wonder if we have you, James, still. The ACTU says any new assistance won't keep people in jobs. Should it have been extended?
The thing about extending JobKeeper is it just kicks the can down the road, and whenever JobKeeper does end, these problems are going to be there. I think when you talk to people that own hospitality venues and who are going to be the ones most affected by JobKeeper ending, what they also want to see is less restrictions on their businesses so they can get more patrons in, and more patrons will mean more staff to be employed. They want less regulations on how to employ people, and that's only going to help workers. It's only going to help Australian businesses get back on their feet. And I know this isn't the point you brought up, but it's also going to help Australian culture. I mean, I think we all want to be out and about, and when places can't let you in or places aren't open, it's really sad. So I just think it's a more ambitious agenda on reforming employment and less restrictions from some state governments.
We're still waiting to get Ebony's audio back, but James, 500,000 Australians have been vaccinated now, but it's still well behind the targets that the government have been talking about. We should be close to about 4 million by now. Significant delays. I mean, is this something to celebrate? 500,000 people vaccinated?
It's absolutely not. I mean, we were told we were front of the queue for vaccinations for so long, and you see what's happening with the rest of the world. You see the numbers coming out of the UK and the US, and especially Israel as to their vaccination programs. And it's kind of different because you see from the Australian landscape, we don't have the same problems with COVID, so maybe there's not as much pressure to vaccinate. But then you've got this stuff with Queensland right now, where one case is sending a state into panic, and there's the Brisbane Lions are still in isolation here in Victoria. The problems are still there, and if state governments don't trust their tracing capabilities and they don't trust the amount of people already vaccinated, I mean, we might still see another lockdown, and I don't think that's what anyone wants to see, and vaccination is right there as a good solution to this.
No, absolutely. Ebony, I believe we have you back now. Do you reckon we can catch up with the Australian-made AstraZeneca doses coming into the fold now?
Well, I certainly hope so. We're way behind what the government has promised. And just this week, I think there were really concerning reports from the Rural Doctors Association of Australia saying that rural doctors, particularly in Queensland, but all across the country, were supposed to be vaccinated as part of the 1A rollout and have just completely missed out. These are our frontline healthcare workers. And I think if at these early stages we can't even be vaccinating frontline healthcare workers on time, then the whole rollout looks in some pretty serious jeopardy, and the economy is relying on it. I think, James was absolutely right. We're relying on this vaccine rollout to avoid hard border lockdowns like we've seen. It's important for the economy and obviously important for the health of every Australian.
Unfortunately, guys, we're out of time. Thank you so much, though. Ebony Bennett from the Australian Institute and James Bolt from the Institute of Public Affairs. Thanks for joining us on Weekend Live.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
The bottom 20% get nothing. They're really unfair tax cuts.
People want to see much stronger action from the government when it comes to climate change.
It's no coincidence that we have a wages crisis in Australia.
Transitioning to net zero emissions, it doesn't seem like there's much room for gas.